Before we tell you this story, you need to know one thing. Every word of it is true. It started with a Craigslist ad, just some old doors. That's all we were after. Then, the man selling them asked me something. He knew how much I love history. And he asked if I would help auction off the house those doors came from. So I started digging. And the whole thing cracked wide open. Ghost forms, Pinterest boards, a whole town's worth of people online, all whispering about the same place. The haunted house out in the cattle field that everybody slowed down to photograph. We went looking for doors. We found something stranger than any ghost story. Every town has one. The house people lower their voices to talk about. The one kids dare each other to walk past after dark. In this town, they called it haunted. They were wrong, or at least that's what we believed when we started. It began with a set of doors I bought online back in 2022. Nothing seemed unusual at the time. Just beautiful, old wood with good bones and a story nobody knew yet. It would be 2 years before we understood what we were really holding. The trail led down a quiet road in Texas to a barn most people would drive right past without a second look. From the outside, it looks like any other barn. But inside, it held a secret. Inside this barn was a completely deconstructed 1894 homestead. Doors, windows, mantels, hand-cut trim, the pieces of an entire house, carefully taken apart and stacked against the walls, waiting for someone to come looking. There's even an old, bright yellow palm reader sign with a painted red hand. The kind of thing that makes people lower their voices and whisper that word again. Haunted. But it isn't haunted, it's just history. The record said the house these pieces came from was torn down in 2014, demolished, erased from the map. But the records were wrong. The house was never destroyed. It was taken apart, board by board, and carried here to this barn to wait in the dark. So why did a whole town call it haunted? Because of the women. When the man who built the house passed away, it didn't go to his sons. It went to the women of the family. Generation after generation, the women stayed. They held it. They lived their whole lives inside those walls, and more than one of them grew old and passed away there too. A house full of women in a small town that wouldn't break up and wouldn't fall down. People will always find a way to call that strange. By the time the whispering got loud enough, it had made the front page of the local paper. The sheriff went out to look. So did a Texas Ranger. But there was never anything in that house but a family that refused to scatter. They had a saying, stick together and prosper. And they did. They held on so tightly that the house itself seemed to hold them right back, long after the town expected it to be gone. That's not a haunting, that's a family, that's history. The barn is just where the pieces wait. The story always belonged to the house and the women who would not let it go. There's something better than a ghost story here. Proof that the things we think are gone are sometimes just waiting for someone to find them again. That is what we do. We find the things history left behind, and we give them their story back. Every piece in this barn is being documented, restored, and returned to someone who will keep that story going. And the next time someone points to an old house and says it is haunted, remember, sometimes the truth is quieter than a ghost story. Sometimes it's just a family that loved a place so much they never really left it. Not haunted, just history.